There we go. So what are we going to talk about today? We want to talk about the what and why of an author profile, and how will they help us help in the future. The types of research profiles for maximum impact, including the ORCID ID, the Google Scholar, and Scopus ID. We'll share a little bit of a profile comparison and then how to get started. So, just as I mentioned, think of yourself as future researcher. This conducting research may happen in the lab, but it also is something that you have a strong relationship with any particular library. So I always encourage folks to follow the library, our newsletter, and our events for to and keep the conversation going. Come on, arrows. So if anyone wants to come off mute and share or drop into the chat, what is your experience with the researcher and author profiles? Have you had any challenges starting or maintaining a profile? Do you have any specific concerns that the group could talk about? If you want to drop it in the chat, please feel free, and we can take a look as we move through the session. Thank you so much. So what are author profiles? So imagine you're at a conference for a poster presentation and you spend time chatting and networking. So, you have a friendly conversation, but then you really double down and say, like, I want to get to know this person's professional work more. So after the conference, you go back and you review their author profiles, and you realize that there's ongoing projects they're working on. And then you also see that there are some collaborators that you already know, but this didn't come up at the conference. So these author profiles really help establish a researcher network, which really has, without the distractions of a commercial social network. So this is something where you really want to build your researcher profile just as you would another part of your professional portfolio. Because if you think about all of the hard work that you put into your projects, final projects, thesis, how much, when you invest all that time, you think to yourself, like, well, is this something that's really going to matter in my field? And I would think, you've committed 4 or 5 years. The answer is yes. And the answer lies in your author profiles. So in essence, you are raising your scholarly profile, and it's not only about self-promotion. A key part of scholarship is finding past works and integrating them into new scholarship. The process of raising your scholarly profile is really about taking steps to improve the likelihood and reliability that your work is discovered by these relevant scholars and other stakeholders. So this presentation is designed to help you begin this process and consider ways to evaluate your profiles of choice. All right, my mouse pad doesn't want to advance today. So, you want to ask yourself the questions. Do you present as a professional in your chosen field? Maybe this is something that there's a career change involved. And maybe you're moving from practice into academia. Are you readily identifiable and distinguishable in your research capacities? And when you Google your name, does the information about your research and your professional work, is it in the networks that you want them to find you? So essentially, your researcher profile is a public-facing and persistent online presence to establish and then build your career over time. So researcher identifiers play a crucial role in ensuring that academic work remains attributed and easily discoverable, especially as scholars navigate interdisciplinary collaborations or publish across multiple platforms. For instance, ORCID, it's a unique identifier, a numerical identifier, and it functions as the baseline for all other scholarly networks. It prevents ambiguity when authors share common names or initials. Then by maintaining a centralized record of publications, data sets, affiliations. ORCID allows researchers' contributions to be recognized across journals, institutions, international boundaries, funding sources. Platforms like Google Scholar aggregate citations, co-authors, and publication networks. So really, Scopus, Google Scholar, and ORCID ID are 3 types of platform that really work together. When we initiate these profiles early in our careers, we not only establish the stable presence, but also learn about managing and curating this footprint. So this becomes especially helpful when applying for grants, fellowships, and conference opportunities. So author profiles narrate the unfolding story, your publications and presentations. When examining a researcher's profile, you can trace the origins of their academic interest. You can see how topics may have shifted over time. And you can see where and when they published. So this also helps you establish a bit of a mentorship and understanding, what their trajectory was like. You can start to see patterns in keywords, highlight evolving and deepening expertise, while variations in publication type show the expanding methods and interdisciplinary exploration. So here we have an example of one of our faculty members, Aishan Kamel. At what point did this person, and you see in their trajectory, oh, this is my career now. So you can say, oh, they're teaching and they're publishing in a variety of different conferences, publications. So we can see that on the left hand of the slide that their citation impact has increased gradually over the past decade. Since 2021. You can see the H index, the amount of their citations, and then you can see the variety of publications and how many people have, how many other publications have cited them. So this all is a way for us to see the impact. So understandably, papers that were published more recently have less of an impact so far, but that's just a matter of time. So a paper from 2018 has really been cited by over 382 other works. So this is clear that author profiles become part of a dynamic database, and they tell us the origins of curiosity, unexpected opportunity, and gradual specialization. It is easy to assume academic careers begin with certainty, but analyzing researcher and author profiles reveals many discover their direction through the accumulated experiences and iterative inquiry. So we need to practice the patience of building our research profiles and starting to really illustrate our research careers. So the 3 main researcher identifiers that we're focused on today are ORCID ID, Google Scholar, and Scopus ID. ORCID provides persistent identifier that distinguishes one researcher from another, presenting ambiguity when authors share common names or initials. You can include a variety of works, everything from publications, data sets, affiliations, funding, contributions to be recognized across journals, institutions, and international boundaries. Sorry, folks, I went the wrong way. Let's see. Yeah, okay, great. So what is Google Scholar? It's a search engine for scholarly research. It's used by students, faculty, and researchers worldwide, and often the first place to search for academic research. So what is your Scholar profile? A subset of Google Scholar. It's a free online academic profile where you can list your papers, posters, and projects, and it will then, querying the Google Scholar network, will track citations automatically and will create a unique researcher ID. So here's an example from one of our faculty. And this page includes a series of articles, and then you can click into one particular article and you can see the record as if you were researching this in a library database. And you can see the publication date, the attributed authors, along with the total citations that this exact article has had. So over the past decade, it has been cited 679 times. And on the right, you can see the link from nature.com and accessible through nyit.edu. Essentially, when you click on these links to the right, it can then help you query the document in the library databases, and you can gain full text access or through either the databases or through an ILL. Scopus ID. So Scopus profiles are assigned when you publish an article that or a conference proceeding that is also indexed by Scopus. In other words, Scopus picks up the citations and then makes these articles discoverable, and then you then attributed to the network of other have published within Scopus and in journals that have also indexed by Scopus. So the authorized Scopus and Crossref will then update with your ORCID ID. Scopus also does, as we'll see, does an excellent job of visualizing citation metrics. So we'll see things like H-index and citation analysis. So on this slide, we have an example from one of our faculty, Professor Lee. Oops. Sorry, guys, I minimized my window. Never a dull moment. Hold on. There we go. Where did it go? Oh, yeah. Hold on, folks. My window moved off screen. Here's presenter view. No, this is the other one. I don't need this. Oh, here, show meeting. There's us. Hi, guys. Hold on a second.
Oh, you paused it somehow.
I think I paused it though,
Yeah,
because. So Scopus ID. Scan the QR code to explore Professor Lee's Scopus profile. The Scopus ID provides some useful information for exploring authors and their study topics. While you may not have a Scopus profile yet, it is a very useful database for discovering researcher contributions and connections. For example, the profiles analyze publications across the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. How much influence does a particular publication have on any one of the 14 goals? Document and citation trends. The graph shows the number of documents published and the number of citations. These appear only for authors having more than 1 year of data. The data shows only the years in which the author has data. For example, if the most citations an author has received in a year was 2, then the highest number on the scale is 2. For more details about the data of a particular year, move the cursor over the year, over that data point. Then you can view the document and citing documents results listed for a year and select a corresponding data point. Collaboration. Scopus analyzes how much weight an author's profile has when it has worked, the percentage of international collaborations across countries and regions, and then it also can look at academic and corporate collaborations, percentage of documents with both academic and corporate affiliations. You can also set an alert for a particular Scopus ID so that when new publications come through, and the profile changes, you will be aware right away. ORCID ID. What is the ORCID ID, really? The Open Researcher and Contributor Identifier. The benefits include distinguishing you. It's a numerical identification that persists over time, can bolster your digital identity, and can help you quickly meet funder, publisher, and reporting requirements. Your ORCID record can include an employment history, education, licenses and qualifications, recent funding awards, and of course, publications of works and original works across a variety of formats, anything from exhibitions to peer-reviewed publications, data sets. You can include records about all of these within your ORCID ID. The ORCID ID distinguishes you from others despite name changes or position changes, disciplinary focus shifts, or changes in institutions. So again, it changes in your name or institution, your ORCID ID will continue. Your ORCID ID can pop up in peer review contributions, you can help you meet requirements for a publisher. Many publishers require an ORCID ID, for example, IEEE, Sage, Science Open, Springer Nature, the American Chemical Society, and many more. You can save time when you're interacting with any number of systems, including discovery and profile systems, publishing, institutions, and variety of funding systems. Whether you are working as a funder, working as a policymaker, or producing research, use your ORCID ID whenever possible. Here are examples of 3 profiles from New York Tech faculty and their ORCID ID, their ORCID records, which include education, works that have been peer reviewed, and institutions they are affiliated with. Here's an example of 3 Scopus author profiles from Tech faculty. Take note of the documentation and citation trends, the HM indexes. You can also, again, look at awarded grants, a variety of topics, where they've co-authored, preprints available, where their work, how often their work has been cited, and then, of course, impact metrics. Here's an example of a Google Scholar profile. On the right, you can see the timeline of citation impact, and then the list of publications, when they were published, and how many people cited them. Google Scholar also gives you the option to follow a profile, so you can track when contributions have changed and when new publications have been picked up. So quickly, just to compare, ORCID ID is created and maintained by the researcher. Google Scholar is also created by the researcher, but Scopus is maintained by Scopus. ORCID ID does not include any metrics. Google Scholar and Scopus ID both have a form of metrics and impact factor. So we can see these 3 examples of a profile comparison. You can see that there's the option to follow both of these, but the scale is slightly different. The H-index from Google Scholar here is 14 overall, but then on Scopus, the H-index is actually identified as 8. So there will be some variation between the two profiles. There are disciplinary strengths between Scopus and Google Scholar. Google Scholar leaves more room across all disciplines and the humanities and fine arts, whereas Scopus really focuses on, is weighted towards hard sciences, engineering, and some social science. Orchid ID is completely interdisciplinary. As I mentioned earlier, there's an extensive options for works contributions, professional affiliations, educations, qualifications, history of funding, grant awards, etc. The library maintains a step-by-step guide for creating an Orchid ID. An Orchid ID, what to look for in your Scopus profile, and Google Scholar citations. In addition, there is advice on Publons, funding profiles, web profiles, and then, of course, how to get help. The slides will link out to some very specific how-tos on Orchid, building out your Orchid ID. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today. Again, scan the QR code or download the slides. If you have follow-up questions, please contact us at askalibrarian@nyit.edu. Look for additional scholarly communications workshops on nyit.edu/events.